Welcome to the DIY Goalie podcast, where hosts and goalie coaches Nathan Park and Connor Monday share their insights on how to become a better goalie. Goalies, welcome back to another episode of the DIY Goalie podcast presented by True North Goaltending. And we are getting close to making the switch over. I just mostly have to do some content copy and pasting and setting up a few things like our booking and new courses platforms on our website. So that'll be coming soon. Stay tuned for that. Today we've got a pretty exciting episode. Connor had the idea and took it upon himself to reach out to the goalie community asking for your guys' hot takes on some goaltending things. So he posted in a few Facebook groups, asked his circle of goalies and goalie coaches, and we got a few back. We got lots of responses back actually. So thanks to you guys for that. We don't have time to include them all, so we could maybe do a part 2 down the road, but we kind of picked the ones that we haven't really touched on a whole heck of a lot before in other episodes, and kind of, the ones that were offering good talking points and might be a little bit on the spicier side. So that's how we did that. So if yours didn't make the cut for today, we apologize, but maybe we'll do a part 2 down the road. So thanks to you guys, and thanks to Connor for taking that on himself, having the idea, and kind of putting this together for us today.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun to do, and just thank you to everybody for their submissions. Just reaching out to everybody on social media and just kind of putting the general call out there, and you guys answered. And so, like Nathan said, we got a lot of responses for this. But we could only choose so many because we have an hour time slot to work with here. So yeah, but I mean, we had a lot of good ones. We had a lot of interesting ones. And so if yours didn't make the cut, don't feel discouraged. Yeah, it was just more so a thing of it didn't kind of fit the vibe that we were going for today, or we just weren't able to include it. So this was a lot of fun to do. Thank everybody for answering the bell, and I can't wait to get into it today.
All right. Well, on that note, let's segue right into it today.
Yeah.
All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of go back and forth reading them, and then one of us is going to read it. The other one is going to put our thoughts in, and we're going to kind of have some healthy discussion and or debate about about what comes up here. So the first one that I've got on the list is goalies shouldn't have to pay full registration unless there's a goalie coach provided.
So I remember reading that one, and it kind of got me thinking a little bit. And I was thinking, like, I kind of agree with that take, especially in the day and age now where like there are an abundance of goalie coaches across North America and Europe. Um, and especially with, 'cause, like, I think Nathan, you and I were talking about it. I was actually talking about it with Jamie Phillips a while ago, and they were kind of talking about in their latest episode of Goalie Science, where um just kind of the whole open borders thing that's happening out in Ontario. As much as of a cluster truck that is, um it kind of got me thinking to a point where organizations both in the Hockey Canada sanction system and the non-Hockey Canada sanction system are like they're competing for players, right? They're trying to get players and families to buy into their organization. And so when it comes to this take, I think that's got to be part of that. Now it's obviously it's not going to make sense for like the smaller, rural communities where there's maybe not a lot of options, or maybe they aren't able to get a goalie coach. But I think for like a lot of the major organizations within the major cities, you kind of have to, like, that has to be provided somewhere in the system. Yes, there is, the weekly goalie development program, but I think just in the same breath, it's just like, if you're not going to be offer if an organization is not going to be offering somewhat to a degree of more dedicated goalie development, then yeah, I think, like, and then yeah, I would agree that, yeah, goalie parents or families of goalies would maybe have to shell out a little bit less, because the position of goaltending in itself, with all the equipment and the training already, is gets does happen to get quite expensive. So that's kind of my initial thoughts on it. Nathan, what would be your response or rebuttal?
Yeah, to a certain extent, I definitely see the merit to this. My thoughts initially would be, instead of looking at reducing fees for goalies, I think the first like point of action should be providing better development for your goalies. Like, to me, the dropping the fees for goalies is a bit of a cop out. I get it. Like, it is definitely an option and it does help, but coming from a goalie coach's perspective, like, for us as, an organization that maybe sees goalies within organizations either in a big group setting with half or all of the goalies within an organization, or we see a goalie, once every couple weeks at their team practice, or we see them when they come out to us privately. The problem with that is, a lot of times we don't have a good setup to be able to work on like situational stuff, which is a lot of kind of what we want to be teaching our goalies, to be able to give them, a bit of a better, decision making skill set for when they're in a game, because the controlled environment of, goalie sessions doesn't offer necessarily some of the variability that a game situation does. And it's just unrealistic for us to be able to bring out 10 guys in a game situation and coach a goalie. So to me, I think the better push is to have somebody on staff that has a good working knowledge of being a goalie or the goaltending position, that can offer that real time feedback in practices that are more game like team practices, or even during the game or after games, being able to go through some of that stuff with them as well. So I do think that would be the better push as opposed to just dropping fees. That being said, that's not always doable. So I think if that's the case, then some other alternate of goalie development should be offered. And maybe that is the low hanging fruit of dropping fees for goalies. Like, to me, again, I think that's kind of the easy cop out and should, in my opinion, be kind of the last resort decision. I think first and foremost, the organization should see what they can do for goalies to make their development in house better, whether that's bringing an organization in or trying to have, some sort of dedicated goalie coach per team or whatever that is. But that's my kind of take on that.
I guess with this particular take, it would, like, we would require more of a for lack of a better term, like an explanation, or more of a more of like an in-depth option. I Again, like, you and I have talked about it, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned it in a previous podcast as well. It's like, in my little perfect world, there's a goalie coach on every single minor hockey organization, and so I think that's got to be, again, like you said, like, that would have to be part of it somewhere. It's like, there's got to be a dedicated coach on staff that has to go and take the goalie development one program, whatever that may be, depending on the organization. And that would be, they would be that guy. And if no team is willing to do that, then yeah, maybe that's where you say it's like we're not going to put nobody on our team or organization is willing to do that, so we want half or part of that money back. Obviously, not entirely the case because all registration fees are paid up front before tryouts, but that's the I get where this take is coming from. I don't think there's really any excuse now to not have, for any organization or for any team to not have some type of goalie development. I like the way that we do it with one of our organizations that we have, where it's like they have it's like 10 dedicated skates throughout the year for goalie development with each of their individual teams. So like maybe an approach like that, because like what they have to reach like a certain amount of development hours or something or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think the minimum for the HSL is 10. I don't know how well that's policed and followed up on, but
Yeah,
supposedly that's their minimum
but
per
that's
team.
that's what I'm saying, right? It's like I don't mind that model basically, right? And so like that would be something easily adapted to an extent for regular minor hockey organizations. Anyways, that's kind of take number one there. We'll just transition into take number two here, where this one says if there are two goalies on a team, you need to give them 24 hours notice before they start in the locker room prior to warm up. You need to give them 24 hours notice before they start in the locker room prior to warm up is not acceptable.
Yeah, I'm 100% on board with that. I I don't know. You can argue like the argument with that from a coach's perspective that I've heard is that then you come to the rink prepared regardless of if you're starting or you're backing up. But to me, what I find that does is it just kind of jacks up the anxiety because now not only are you trying to prepare, but you're also like, am I starting? Am I not starting? I don't know what's going on. I've only ever had one coach or one team that I've been on do this, and I hated it. And I think that kind of goes for any goalie who goes into this situation. It jacks up the anxiety because you're just like, I want to prepare, but there's so much uncertainty. Like us goalies, we like stability, we like certainty. We have routines. We like to go through our routines and get through the proper preparation. And a lot of us have different routines based off of if we're starting or if we're backing up. Like for me, I was a lot more loosey goosey when I was backing up as opposed to when I was starting. And it just kind of helped me get in the right mindset. Like I found if I came off the bench in a game when I was just kind of not really thinking about it, when I was just having fun, just kind of there, it helped me transition into the game a little bit better as opposed to, trying to be thinking about it and, jacking yourself up and trying to get yourself motivated for a game you're not playing kind of thing. I just like when I didn't play, I would go play sewer ball with the boys and just kind of hang out, do a little bit of stretching, but that was about it. But I wouldn't do that stuff when I was starting because when I was starting, I had my specific routine I wanted to get through, and that didn't include playing sewer ball. So I do definitely agree with this that I think there should be notice for goalies, and that includes the goalie who's not starting. They should know that they're not starting as well. And yeah, I think I'm on board with that one 100%.
Yeah, I'm also 100% in agreement with this one. There was like when I was coaching junior B a year ago, and I vividly remember this game where we weren't sure who was going to start. It was supposed to be goalie A's scheduled start, um, but he wasn't feeling all that great. He was kind of a little not himself, and so we were like, okay, well, let's get you. We'll get you through warm-ups, and then we'll make a decision from there. Initially, we had said it's like more than likely it will be you, but we'll kind of see we'll kind of see how you're sitting through warm-ups. Goes through warm-ups. He didn't look all that great. And so it's like I told him, it's like I can't in good conscience start you. He was like, no, like I want to do this, like I want to start. And so we ended up playing him, and we had to pull him after the third or fourth goal. And I think I'll admit part of that was probably my fault because like, we messed with his head too much. He was told that he wasn't starting. It's like, well, now he wasn't sure if he was starting, and so just there was too much. There was just too much kind of mental blockage there. Um, so that is a example of what can and probably does happen amongst many organizations. I think realistically though, in the same breath too, it's like you watch like any of the NHL teams, like it's probably be mandatory for them that they give their goaltender. I mean, even like when they do it in the media as well, that they'll announce like, oh, Stuart Skinner is going to be starting, Calvin Pickard or whoever, right? Like they do give that notice. It's not a game time decision by any stretch, right? So, um, yeah, 100% agree with this take, and I think any coaches that do otherwise, they should not be coaching.
Yeah, well, and then with the NHL teams too, they have the quote unquote starters net at practice that you'll see the guys,
Yeah,
playing
exactly.
in, and even if we don't know as fans and the media and all that stuff, internally they know, like
Yeah.
100% they know.
It's I mean, like we're all in the middle of the NHL's in the middle of playoffs right now. It's not like I'll use Freddie Anderson and Pyotr Kochekov as an example. It's not like Rod Brind'Amour is going into Game 4 against the Florida Panthers backs against the wall and be like, I'm going to tell Pyotr Kochekov or Freddie Anderson 30 minutes to puck drop that one's going to be starting over the other, right? Like that's not realistic.
Yeah,
That's that's just not okay. I understand the argument though to an extent. It's like, oh, both goalies have to be ready. Both goalies should be ready to play regardless,
yeah,
right? But obviously, one goalie is going to, like you were saying earlier, it's like when you knew that you were playing or you knew that you were starting, you took it a little more seriously than you did if you didn't, right? So just I think like everybody has their own kind of different warm up or just kind of different routines prior to starting or not starting, but that doesn't give the excuse, regardless, to say like, oh, I'm not going to tell them 5 minutes before puck drop because I want both my goalies to be ready. Both your goalies should be ready to play regardless.
yeah. Well, and that's the thing. If I did my starting routine when I was backing up, I wouldn't do well if I had to come off the bench. If I did my backing up routine when I was starting, I would not do well when I started.
Yeah,
So, and it's one of those things that the more anxiety you introduce to a goalie's environment, the worse it's going to be for them. And that's all that indecision is extra anxiety.
yeah.
Um, all right. So this next one, this is interesting. If you have two goalies, playing half games is unacceptable. Each goalie should get a full game. Thoughts,
so,
Connor?
so I remember this one, and I'm laughing because it's kind of absurd, but I also kind of get it at the same time. So like, hey, when I played, again, I'm going to be using older terms here. When I played novice Adam hockey, we played half games because we were like what, like 9, 10, 11 years, 12 years old, something like that. Getting into Pee Wee was still half games because, again, like this is house league that we're talking about. And then kind of getting into second year Pee Wee, moving into Bantam Midget, then it transitioned to full games. So I don't necessarily disagree with this take, but I don't think I necessarily agree with it either. I think it depends on the age level and the level of play itself. Because like, realistically, I'm not going to be asking a full time starting to play goalie to be playing a full 20-minute or 15-minute period, depending, right? Like obviously in the like the double A triple A stream, absolutely makes sense. They should be playing consistently or should be playing the full game. But in a house league ish setting, I would agree, or I would disagree rather. That's like, no, half games I would say is acceptable because it's about playing the game. It's about having fun, especially in that kind of stream. I don't think necessarily playing full games, again, age level dependent or skill level dependent, is a is quote unquote unacceptable.
Yeah, this one's a big it depends. My thought on it, or my take on it, is the more business like or the more quote unquote professional the environment is, the more likely you probably are to be playing full games. So, double A, triple A, junior, semi pro, whatever, you're not changing halfway through a period or doing one period, two period, or every 5 minutes, whatever. Um, but if the focus is more on development, and especially for the younger kids, they really should be swapping out at some point. Whether it is halfway through, I like the natural break of an intermission. So I like doing either one goalie plays the first period, the other plays the second and third, or if you do like rotating every period. So one goalie plays the first, the next plays the second, then the first plays the third again. Stuff like that, like for the younger goalies, makes a lot of sense because it's hard for them to focus for the entirety of a full game. It also is tough on families to be driving wherever for a game and their kids sitting on the bench for the whole time. And
Yeah,
at some point, these goalies do need to learn how to come off of the bench and to come into a game in the middle of a game. Because when they do get older, goalies get pulled. Even if you're doing full games, goalies get pulled. It happens. So being able to have that skill set comes from, you know, being able to figure that out at a bit of a younger age too, and have, the routines that work for you for those situations. I also think too that as much as you can, if you can get the younger goalies to be playing full games, but then the goalie who isn't playing is playing out, that's a huge advantage, in my opinion, because that builds skill sets away from the crease, that works on skating, stick handling, like edge work, positioning, learning where they should be. So that when you're back in the net, you kind of have an understanding of where your players should be and the game in front of you. I think if that's possible to do, that's probably the ideal situation where you have one goalie playing the full game and the other goalie playing out. But yeah, all in all, I disagree with this being a full on blanket statement of every goalie should play a full game, because certain situations I think call for swapping out at some point during a game, especially for kind of the younger goalies.
equal play, I think, is kind of the rebuttal to that in a general blanket statement. I will say this though, for leagues like here in Alberta, like the Hockey Super League and the Premier Hockey League, again, I would also say that is dependent up to a certain point.
Yeah.
Um, like the younger kids, and we'll say, I don't know, 12 and under, basically. I would definitely say half games. 12, 13 older, probably actually 13 older. Definitely full games for sure. Right. Again, like, as much as like the outlaw league portion of it, prides on development and claiming that they're the equivalent of double A or triple A teams, it's still minor hockey at the end of the day too, right? So there has to be that balance at the same time.
Yeah, and with that, I think too, like the other thing is with the super leagues, the outlaw leagues, whatever you want to call them, they're full ice the whole time. So you've got literally 7-year-olds playing full ice hockey. So to me, that's another time where it's really important to split the goalies because when 7-year-olds are playing full ice, they can't skate very fast. So
Yeah.
the puck is usually not around the goalie as much as when, you're older and stuff like that. So a lot of times, trying to stay focused for a full whatever it is, 45, 60 minutes depending on the run time of the game, that's tough when it takes 2-3 minutes for a puck to actually make its way down to you for a shot that you might not even get. It might get blocked and go back the other way,
Yeah.
and it's 10 minutes between shots for you. That's tough for a 7-year-old to stay focused. So I think it's good to have that kind of natural switch or you know kind of break, I guess, from having to try and stay focused. But that's just me.
Moving on to the next one here. And I don't know how I feel about this one. Actually I know how I feel about this one. Don't pull the goalie and not talk to them on the bench about why or what the reason was.
Yeah, as with a lot of these takes, we're probably going to be underwhelming and say it depends on the situation. um, in my opinion, you should talk to them about why there was a pull at some point, but at the higher levels and stuff like that, that might not come right when it happens on the bench. That might be after the game that you talk to the goalie about it briefly. I know for a fact that I hated getting pulled. I knew that I wasn't playing well. And if I was playing well, then I would just be mad as to why I got pulled because maybe a story for another time. But I did get pulled in a game that was 2-2 after I let in the second goal on the 18th shot. So, story for another time. Still bitter about that. But, anyways, um, so I do think that with the older goalies who are a little bit more in tune with their game and usually tend to be a little bit more emotional with it. It might make sense to wait until after the game to talk with them. They have a little bit of time to reflect, a little bit of time to cool down. When it comes to the younger goalies, though, I do think it should be a conversation that happens right then and there. Um, just because it's tough as a younger kid when you don't necessarily understand and you're just sitting there thinking, hey, coach hates me or whatever the case is. Like it, in the case of me getting pulled in that 2-2 game, eventually my coach came to me and said, if you were on the bench, you would have understand why I made this change. And he's like, we needed to shake things up. And I still don't necessarily agree with that. But anyways, that's what he said to me. So if that's the case, you can pass it to your goalie and be like, hey, it's not you. We need to shake things up. Or, hey, we saw you're getting frustrated. We wanted you to have a bit of a cool down. Or, hey, you know what? We still have the utmost confidence in you. We just saw today wasn't your day and you get the next start right back at her or whatever the case is, right? I do think with the younger kids in those situations, it's good to have that real time, immediate feedback with them. The older goalies, I would say you probably are better off waiting a little bit until after the game. But again, that kind of depends on each individual. And that's why it's good to have these conversations before these things happen. So you know kind of what your goalie's like and kind of where their headspace is at.
Yeah. I kind of lost you there for a second, but that's all right. I kind of got the gist of it. Um, yeah. Um, yeah. I don't have anything to add on to that. Honestly, I think you kind of summed it up pretty well. Um, just yeah, definitely like for the younger kids, it's kind of like almost an immediate reaction to that. But for the older goalies, it's a conversation either in between periods or after the game. It's all dependent and situational. Um, because again, like things happen in the heat of the moment, right? Or the strategizing of battle, basically, right? And so sometimes you won't be able to answer decisions or answer questions or anything like that right away because you're strategizing or you're doing things, you're like 10 steps ahead on certain things. But yeah, I don't have a rebuttal to that. I don't have anything for that. I think that's just, again, like Nathan said, it's underwhelming, but it is a kind of a situational thing.
Now, here's an interesting kind of spin off on this. What are your thoughts on the pull, the chat, and then the put them back in at the next like whistle or whatever?
Okay, I'm gonna need a little bit. I'm gonna need a little bit more. I'm gonna need a little more fine tuning on this, I guess. So
So
like, what do you mean?
so say a goalie, like, I don't know, say you've got a 10 or a 12-year-old or something like that. They let in like 3 goals in the first 6 minutes. You pull them, you bring them to the bench, other goalie goes in, you have a chat with them saying, hey, um, not the start we're looking for. We still, you know, have confidence in
Oh, okay,
you. We
okay,
want you to
gotcha.
reset, blah, blah, blah. And then at the next whistle, they switch again. They put that goalie back in. What are your thoughts on that?
So I would agree with that because it's actually happened to me.
Yeah.
Funny enough.
Fair.
So I quick story time. Again, we were playing a game, and yeah, kind of same deal. Kind of gave up 3 goals in the first 6-ish shots. My dad, ironically enough, who was the head coach of the team, pulled me, just kind of gave me a minute to kind of gave me a couple whistles um, to reset. We talked and ended up coming back in. I think I actually started the second period, but um, yeah, I'm on board for that. I would say, again, on a couple of factors. Because number one, because I mean, like, again, like if like 12-ish years old, um, and if that was supposed to be the game that I'm supposed to be starting, like obviously you got off to a bad start, and you want to, and as goalies, when you get off to a start like that, you want to do everything in your power to correct it, basically, right? It doesn't matter what age level that you're at. And I don't think it's anything more frustrating than, you get pulled on 3 goals, or yeah, 3 goals on 6 shots, and then your backup's playing the rest of the game. Um, so yeah, I would personally agree with that. Again, that's a huge gamble that you're taking, obviously, because it could go south for you very, 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 very quickly, and then people start kind of questioning the head coach. But again, that's legitimately happened to me. So I won't say that we won that game, but I mean, I definitely did not give up another 3 goals on 6 shots. So yay for me. But um, I know, again, again, like people are probably hating us for this at this point, but I would say that's situationally dependent.
Yeah, I think more often than not, it's a decent play if it's early and you can tell it's
Yeah.
just not not their night, and it's a good reset because us as goalies, we always like the opportunity to wrong or right our wrongs, and sometimes that mental reset and kind of cool down can help a little bit. But yeah, I
Yeah.
just wanted to know your thoughts.
No, it's fair. But
Um,
before
oh,
before you get into this next one, Um, I do want to preface that these are or were two separate takes. I just put them together as one because I thought they kind of correlated with each other.
okay, fair enough. So this one, the butterfly should not be a reaction to every shot. It is a save selection and should be taught as such. And part two, the 2-pad stack is a useful technique in some situations and should still be taught to goalies. Take us
Uh,
away, Connor.
that 2 pack the 2 pack stack one, when I first saw it, made me laugh really hard when I first initially saw it. Um, I think to non goalie parents, or to parents who think they know something about goaltending. I think the butterfly does get a bad rap sometimes. And probably, yes, goalies probably utilize it more than they should. But I don't know if I necessarily agree with it being not a reaction, but nor a save selection. I think it's just for me, it's a movement to an extent that goalies utilize, and sometimes they utilize it well, sometimes they don't utilize it properly. The first and like I kind of I'm visualizing kind of where this take is coming from, the first part of it anyways, because there's have probably been times where a shot comes, the goalie drops down, and it kind of whizzes by the top of their head. My rebuttal to that would be, again, is that if you have that same similar shot and it's deflected through five guys in traffic and it ends up dropping down in elevation, um, then then it goes through the goalie's legs, and then that to me looks even worse, honestly. So I would say the butterfly is not a save selection. I would say it's a movement, um, to an extent. The two pad stack is gone. You guys need to get over it. It's gone. It's not coming back. It is not useful in any situations whatsoever, other than some type of some type of desperation. And I know that there are some goalie coaches out there that that do teach like desperation ish style saves, but I don't think the two pad stack is in that conversation for me anymore.
Okay, well, I'll go to part one first. The butterfly. So, goaltending, whether you like it or not, plays percentages. It basically, our modern style of goaltending is putting the goalie in the best possible position to make the saves more often than not. And that's why the butterfly has become kind of the de facto style or way of doing things, is because even with how good the shots are and the players are today, the majority of, you know, chances or shots on net are going to be in the lower half of the net. Like Connor said, there's deflections, guys fan on shots, maybe they don't see a lane and just kind of throw a puck on net, whatever the case is. Um, I agree with the statement if you're talking about young, new to the position goalies, that yes, you may want them to hold their feet a little bit more, mostly because they can't cover the net as well, or as much. But the problem is the further you go and the better the players get, the less time you have to react to a shot. So when we start working with goalies that are like brand new, we teach them track the puck, and what you track is going to determine what you need to do. Like if it's a low shot, you're tracking a low shot, 100% drop. If
Yeah.
it's higher, I usually tell my goalies it's up to you. But the thing is even a 9, 10, 8, 11 year old, whatever age you want to put out there for that age range, um, they can still reach the top corner in their butterfly if their hand is out in front and they're doing like they're executing their save execution properly. So yes, I get it. It looks bad, but the problem mostly is with the younger goalies, when they drop, everything drops. Their hands drop, their shoulders drop, their butt drops, and now they're small in the net. They can execute technique properly to make those high saves in the butterfly, but normally they don't really have the skill set to do that. So we kind of do tend to go with a hybrid approach with the younger goalies to say track the puck, and where your eyes are telling you that puck's going to go will determine if you drop or not. Now, older goalies with guys who can zip the puck don't have that time. They don't have that luxury to be able to say, oh, is this going high or is this going low? Because what's going to happen is they're going to get caught in the middle. They're going to be late and they're going to get beat. And then what happens is these same people that are like, why do goalies go down so much? Are going to be like, oh my God, did you see that ice burner he let in at like five
Yeah.
hole? Like that was atrocious. And it's like, well, what do you want? Do you want the goalie to stand up or do you want the goalie to go down? Like,
Yeah.
so to me, the butterfly itself isn't the issue. The issue is everything else. Like, where are the hands? Where are the shoulders? Does the butt drop back? Does the goalie make themselves small and compact? Right? Like, it's you can still accomplish everything in the butterfly, and there's a reason why there's no stand-up goalies anymore. There's a reason why the goalies at the NHL almost always default to a butterfly. They don't have time to decide if they can stand up or not. They just don't. And they're giving themselves the best opportunity to make the save. And that's by covering the biggest amount of net that they can, which is what the butterfly offers. Because if you look from the puck's perspective, a standing goalie, half of their body's above the crossbar. So I don't know. That's kind of my rant about it. Like the stand-up style is gone. Younger kids, yes, you can teach them to hold their feet a little bit longer, but the bigger issue to me is where their hands are, their shoulders, their butt, all that stuff. Um, the two pad stack one, I'm more of a, I don't know, like you can't really teach desperation, but you can, in a sense, by putting goalies into desperation situations and have them battle. And I'm not going to necessarily rag on the two pad stack because at the end of the day, sometimes improvisation needs to happen and goalies need to get creative. And if they throw out a two pad stack and they make a save in a certain situation, I guess great. They made the save, mission accomplished. It's just the two pad stack has a lot of movement and takes a lot of time. So it's probably not the optimal save selection for most situations. That being said, in my career, I have made the odd two pad stack save and you feel pretty good when it is successful. But um, unfortunately, I don't think it's a save selection that offers a lot of success most of the time. But hey, you guys do you. As long as you're stopping the puck, I'm not going to harp on you too much.
fair,
So
fair enough there. Um, yeah, that was a good hot take. Thank you to that person for submitting that, or to the
those
people
two
rather
people, yeah.
for submitting those. Um, this one here comes from actually one of our goalie parents, whose kid attended our camp this past summer. This one is: the game is different for us goalie parents. The scoreboard is either a buddy or a bully to us, especially at our kids' younger ages. While they are learning to manage the position, we tend to be more aware of the mental load of the posts. For a lot of us, the mental load and its consequences, good or challenging, matters more than the wins or losses.
Yeah. Um, I feel for, well, honestly, the goalie community as a whole, especially younger, newer goalies and goalie parents. Um, I think the problem is we tend to, for whatever reason, hold younger goalies to the same standard that we do pro goalies. Like, I don't know why, but everybody seems to expect that from the NHL down, you need to have like a 915 save percentage. And I hate to break it to you, but your 7-year-old is probably going to be rocking a 0.75 save percentage and they're doing good. Like it's a different ball game at that age, especially if they're in the full size nets and they're 7 or 8, they're going to have a tough time. You also run into the situation where you have certain kids that are way better than all the other kids on the ice, and they just literally skate around everybody like they're pylons. And that's also usually the kid that has figured out how to raise the puck. And the goalie has yet to see like a raised shot most of the time. And so you look at these games and you're like 10-2, that goalie was terrible. And you're just like, well, he covers 10% of the net. What do you want from them, right? Like, so I think that what we have to understand, and what a lot of people don't understand, is how much of a process goaltending is. Like, people think, and this is goalie parents, this is coaches, this is even goalies, like, people think that you can come to, say, see Connor or myself for a session at our facility and be fixed, quote unquote fixed.
Mhm.
Like, you work an hour with a goalie coach and all of a sudden all your problems go away, and it doesn't work like that. Like, habits take time to create, and bad habits take time to get rid of. And the thing is we have a unique situation with goaltending where there's such a spotlight on the position, but there's so few people that know how to support that position. So you get into a situation where these goalies are expected to steal games and yet not given the development or the opportunities to build the skill set to do so. And then they get the brunt of, well, you let in that 5-hole goal from the top of the circle. What are you doing? Well, what they also didn't see was the defenseman standing right in front of the goalie that, made it so the goalie didn't see
Yeah.
the shot, or whatever the case is. So I think it's tough. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's tough for you guys out there as goalie parents, as new goalies. Find a way, like, early on, work with a sports psychologist. Find a way to, you know, be healthy mentally, like, to have the proper coping skills for anxiety, for pressure, for loneliness, for all this stuff, right? Because that's what comes with the position. It's slowly changing, it's slowly getting better. Um, and hopefully, kind of, like, I'm seeing recently a big kind of surge of support for goaltending that's changing, and hopefully we can ride that wave and keep going with that. But for right now, do what you can with your situation to find the support you need to, both as a goalie parent and a young goalie, or an older goalie anyways. But the support that you need to get yourself in the proper state of mind mentally, and try your best to tune out the noise, because the armchair fans and coaches and whatever, they don't know anything about goaltending, and it shows, but they're also the loudest to talk about it. So, they're the crowd that says stand up more. And it's like, well, that's not the issue. But I digress anyways.
Yeah, definitely hard for for the goalie parents out there. I think just kind of in more of a hockey sense as well. Just nobody's kid on the team is going to be players like Sidney Crosby or Connor McDavid. Nobody's kid on the team is going to play defense like Cale Makar or anything. It's just the game. The game is played at the age level that it's played at that point in time. It's more so about development, learning the systems and all this stuff, working on the techniques, and then just going into play the game for the sake of playing the game. But definitely, as from a goaltending side of things, I don't think parents or hockey parents in general have figured out quite yet. Um, um, just kind of how things play out, or how things go. Um, yeah, I don't have anything beyond that. I think Nathan's just kind of summed it up. I think, just again, this is easier said than done for both as a goalie parent and as a goalie coach, or not as a goalie parent, both as a goalie parent and as a goalie. Um, just you can't let it bother you. People are going to say things, and it's like that all over the world. People are going to say things that either you don't agree with. That's kind of why we're doing this podcast. And people are going to say people are going to say things, and it's you just kind of have to just not let it get to you. Obviously, it's easier said than done, but it's more so of just a thing. It's just like you know who you are as an athlete, as a person, and you know who you are as a goalie. And so just whether little Timmy's dad thinks that little Timmy did nothing wrong and he played defense great and it's all the goalie's fault and this and that, it's like, whatever, dude, who cares? It's minor. It's minor hockey. None of the nobody's gonna realistically remember a 12-0 loss 5 days from now. Basically, it's just get over yourself and move on to the next thing. So just yeah.
Control the controllables, the cliche that we've kind of worn out.
Exactly. Right. So
all right. So
again, this is another 2-person one, but I just wanted to kind of correlate into one.
Yeah. This one we saved for me to read to Connor because it's I'm surprised this isn't Connor's take, but anyways, Skinner's not as bad as everybody says. It's the Oilers goalie coach that is the root of the problems. Consistency, I'm assuming this is the second part. Consistency or perceived consistency in goaltending is nonsense on a game-to-game basis. A goalie with a 2.0 GAA could easily have 6 goals against following a shutout. Each game is unique, and the number of dangerous plays faced are unique as well.
Oh, I love this one. So this one plays on a multiple of factors. That's kind of why I correlated these two together, because we're seeing this in real time right now with Stuart Skinner on the Edmonton Oilers. Well, no, like seriously, like guy posts like an 894 save percentage after getting his butt handed to him 6-3 in the opening game versus Dallas, and then posts a 3-0 shutout in game 2. Like there's no consistency there, right? So
I find it wild the stat that Stu either has an under 834 save percentage or a shutout in these playoffs. There's no in between, and that's kind of wild to me. But anyways, continue.
But that's like I hate that stat, but it's currently true. So I wanted to touch on the first part of this first here, because I have had a very good working relationship, much as Nathan has as well, with Dustin Schwartz at the Edmonton Oilers. So I will personally defend this guy till the day I die. But Oilers fans are so annoying sometimes, because like they'll hang it always on Skinner, even though it's not always on him or Pickard. And then if it's not the goalie, then they're not blaming the defense. It's the goalie coach's problem for whatever reason. So that kind of first part to me kind of beg the question. It's like, at what point does the goalie coach take responsibility for the goaltender's play? And the answer, I don't know if it really shocks anybody. I think it gets to a point where it's like, it doesn't anymore. I think it's the same kind of approach where, if the head coach loses the locker room because, the guys aren't listening to him or anything along those lines, then obviously, yeah, it's time for a change. I've yet to meet a goalie coach, although there's one that I'm thinking of in particular. Nathan might know who I'm talking about. That goes purposefully out of their way to say, you got to play the game this way because this is what I know that works, and whoever you listen to from otherwise is an idiot. Or I refuse to also believe that there are any goaltending coaches out there that are saying, yeah, give up the first shot on the glove side because this is what I'm telling you to do. Like, it's like, I don't know where this notion, particularly with Oilers fans, is coming from, that Dustin Schwartz is purposefully going out of his way to ruin Oilers goaltending. Where is this coming from? Tell me, please, Oilers fans. where are you guys coming from on this? Because that is absolutely not the case. Again, like we talked about in the podcast episode when we had Ethan on, it's all about finding the right fit. Was Mike Smith and Dustin Schwartz the right fit when Mike Smith was here? Absolutely not. I don't think. Is Dustin Schwartz, Stuart Skinner, Calvin Pickard the right fit? I think it is. I honestly think it is. I mean, we saw that article with Calvin Pickard out, saying that him and Schwartzy were pretty much eye to eye on the same things. And Stuart Skinner's had the chance to work with Dustin now for the last 4 or 5 years since he got drafted, something along those lines. So I don't think it's all on the Oilers goalie coach that it's the root of the problems. I think that there is something there, but I don't think it's ever been realistically a time for a change. Moving on to the second part, and again, we're seeing this again with Oilers goaltending and Stuart Skinner in particular, consistency and perceived consistency. Yeah, every game is different. Absolutely, every game is different, right? we've all been at games where we either give up one or two goals. We've all been or played in games that where the goalie's given up or hasn't given up, anything rather, has been into a shutout. Or sometimes you just have an absolute stinker of a game. You guys remember? Everybody should remember. When we did the episode with Mr. Wakabayashi. I'm not a big stats person. I genuinely hate stats in terms of reflection of goaltending, and so I think again we've talked about this before in this aspect where people hang so much on save percentage and goals against average. Excuse me, they don't tell the full story, right? Because you can give up 3 goals on 20 shots. That's a 800 save percentage. But what happened in between those shots? What happened in between those goals? What happened in the other 15 shots that happened that didn't go in? How did they look, right? It's all about too just how is the goalie playing in the game. And again, we're seeing this in Aaron Edmonton. It's like again with Skinner, it's like, oh, he's given up 6 goals, he sucks. Oh, he posted a shutout, he's great. It's like, well, okay, stop, hold on a second here. What's happening in between either those games, or what's happening in between the 6 shots that Skinner's given up, or the shutout that he's posting? I don't goalies are not consistent by any stretch of the imagination in terms of game to game. Goalies are consistent, should be consistent in terms of their development and their save selection there. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's my rant on that.
Yeah. The one thing I'll comment specifically on the Oilers goaltending for kind of the first part is they currently are paying 3.6 million in cap hit for 2 goalies. And to be fair, I don't know what people expect to get from $3.6 million worth of goaltending. Like we talk about not making the investment into goalie development for minor hockey. Well, a lot of these teams that have high quality, elite level, consistent goaltending are paying significantly more than $3.6 million a year of their salary cap towards goaltending. So that's one thing. Second thing is Schwartz has been around for a while. I I don't know. I mean, it's been long enough that you could definitely argue that there might need to be a different voice or whatever. To be fair, he hasn't been given a whole heck of a lot through his tenure when it comes to household names of goaltending, if you really think about it. And it's kind of the same thing we're seeing now with Stu that we saw with Talbot when he was in Edmonton. Um, it is what it is. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't know how much better Stu and Pickard would be with a different goalie coach, but you never know until you try, I guess. So that's
So
something.
like I would just to kind of build on or kind of piggyback off that just for a couple of seconds there. And again, Stuart Skinner is in his 3rd or second full year in the league.
Mhm.
He's 27 years old, but he's still a young goalie in terms of by NHL standards. He hasn't been in the league that long. He also hasn't had, I would say, the greatest mentorship when it came to kind of his goalie partners. Mikko Koskinen, Mike Smith, definitely not. Calvin Pickard, okay, give or take. Jack
You don't
Campbell,
think Mike
again,
Smith's
definitely
a good
not.
mentor?
I would absolutely say not. Absolutely not. And I'm not trying to dog on Mike Smith or anything of the sort here, but just the way that I see it is just like the way that I've been seeing Skinner play lately is reminding me a lot of Mike Smith, and I hate the way that Mike Smith plays the game. So the fact that I'm seeing that is bothering me a lot. But regardless, I would honestly say that because the previous Oilers goaltending coach was Fred Shabbat,
Yeah.
who didn't really do all that well. I mean, he's doing well in Minnesota now, but when Schwartz came in, I would say that goaltending has improved significantly under his tenure rather than Shabbat, because like the last few good goaltenders that we've had, or that the Oilers have had in their organization, was Cam Talbot. I hate to admit it, but Mike Smith is up there, and then Stuart Skinner as well. So there's that's kind of your top three right there. But Stuart Skinner is the first, I would say, the first ever true Oilers goaltender that has actually been developed through the system, and so we're seeing the byproduct of that right now, right? I mean, again, this is his third or second year in the league. Calm down, Oilers fans. He'll figure it out. He's every goalie or every player will go through a bit of a bad or a slump year. I would not be surprised by next year if he's kind of figured it out. Stop
Yeah.
having kids, Stu. I think that's kind of the issue here. But,
Yeah. Well, that was Talbot's issue too. He had twins.
yeah,
Uh,
right.
but yeah, so just to back away from the Oilers and like specifically, so what a lot of people don't realize too, and I don't have like personal experience on this. This is just kind of from hearing what other people have been saying and stuff. The NHL level goalie coaches, they they don't do a lot of skill development, right? Like a lot of what their job is kind of going through video and being a sounding board for the goalies to talk through certain situations and say, hey, this could have been done a little bit better in this situation. How is your read on this? Oh, you read that? Okay, well, fair enough. But do you see how this played out? Maybe that allows you to read this a little bit better. They also do a lot of pre-scouting on the other team. That's a big part of their job and kind of trying to, provide information to the coach on what they can expose on the other team's goaltending. And a lot of it's just mostly making their guys feel good with maybe some small subtle tweaks. Because when they get to that level, they have a certain skill set that made them successful, and a lot of times you can't really do a wholesale change because it'll take too long at that level before you see progress, right? Because we talked about how it's earlier, how it's not overnight that these things happen. So if you're trying to change a goalie's game at the pro level when it's a what have you done for me lately business, it's it's not going to work out. Like if you try and go through a whole transitionary season on changing a goalie's game, and they're consistently putting up like sub 800 numbers or sub 850 numbers, they're not going to last in the league too long. And you're not going to have a job for too long if you're saying, hey, coach, hey, head coach, trust the process. We're doing,
Yeah,
if you give me a season or two, this goalie's going to be awesome. Like,
yeah,
they don't have
exactly.
that luxury. So a lot of it is just, subtle tweaks, kind of talking with these goalies, being a sounding board for them, helping them kind of, dissect certain situations. But like Schwartz isn't working with Stu right now and being like, hey, you know what? You're more of a positional goalie. Let's make you more athletic. Let's make you go east to west like Marc-Andre Fleury does. Let's try that and see how it works for you.
Yeah.
That's not gonna happen. So I don't think people realize how I don't want to say how little the goalie coach at the NHL level affects things because that's not true, but they're not doing wholesale changes to these goalies. They got there because they have an elite level skill set and they're going to work with that to make subtle changes to try and get them, a couple saves extra per game basically, or per season, whatever you want to call it. So going into the consistency aspect, we kind of talked about this a couple episodes ago, but yeah, consistency is one of those buzzwords that we mostly just want to aim for like a baseline level of foundational skills that you can repeat game in and game out. From there, what happens is going to be game specific, and sometimes you're going to let in 7 goals and actually not feel that bad about it because there was a bunch of weird deflections. Sometimes you're going to only let in 1 goal and not feel the greatest because you were kind of shaky and maybe didn't control some rebounds that you should have, and blah, blah, blah. So, the big thing for us with consistency is just having that foundational set of fundamental skills that you can repeat on a daily basis. But in terms of like stats and stuff and all that, yeah, I do agree that there can be, I guess, some more buzzwordiness for
Yeah.
consistency. And that's something that a lot of people fall back on. But I do think there is merit in the consistency argument. I think you need a goalie that can at least have a baseline of skills that you can count on pretty much night in and night out. And I think that'll average out their performances pretty good too if they can do those things consistently.
Not trying to not trying to, have this be a whole nother Stuart Skinner thing, because I know people were tired of me talking about it. I just honestly thought that it was a um kind of a relative talking point there, and kind of something current that's happening, and something that I've been wanting to get off my chest, but I didn't want to post it on my social media. I was like, I'll just put it in podcast, and so it
Yeah.
kind of all works out.
So great. All of the people out there are gonna come after me about your hot take. So
Oh
um
dear.
all right, so last one on your list, and then I'm gonna throw a couple personal ones at the end. But
Okay.
stick off the ice standing isn't a bad thing if you can get it on the ice to make a stick save.
Yeah, so this one was submitted by one of our students, and I have to say that I don't agree with it. I really don't. I don't like the elevated goalie stance, just because I think it you're not giving yourself an opportunity to get ready, to get set on a shot. I think when you go from an elevated position down into whatever your regular goalie stance is, that there's that split second adjustment that you're making by that time that shot's released. And so now, even if it's for a fraction of a second, you are chasing the game, or you're chasing the puck at this point. Elevated stance is nice for kind of high, or kind of D partner to D partner passes or anything, but that's the only thing that I would utilize it for. I'm not telling my guys to stay in a high stance most of the time, honestly. I don't think I think it just takes too much time away to get ready, to get from an elevated stance into a proper goalie stance. I come from that era where it was always stick on the ice, knees bend, stay ready, and it stay in your ready stance for any puck that comes your way. So I know that there's a lot of goalie coaches or a lot of goalie schools that teach that nowadays. Just for me, I think it's I think we're trending backwards in that direction.
All right, we're gonna get spicy. You're wrong. Um,
Nothing new there.
I yeah, no, I'm I'm definitely not on the same page as you, but I'm not totally on the opposite page. So again, I think it's situational, but I do think there's more merit to it than you're giving it credit for, in my personal opinion. But again, it has to be done a proper way, and it has to be done in certain situations. So to me, we're not rocking a raised stance when a guy is locked and loaded in the slot between the hash marks, ready to make us like to shoot on net. We're not rocking a raised stance. If we're on a PK and the puck's getting worked around, 100%. If there's screens or if there's traffic in front, 100%. If, there's, I don't know, play in zone that's not real in tight to the net, 100%. That's fine to be in the raised stance. That being said, though, there still has to be a knee bend. There still has to be hands in front. The shoulders still have to be slightly forward, even if we're a little bit more raised up than normal. And the other thing, too, that I see a lot of goalies who maybe are more active in the raised stance do that I personally don't like is then when, you know, a guy does load up for a shot, they tend to get way too wide in their following setup. Like their feet are like way outside of shoulder width, and then they get themselves stuck a little bit. So if you are rocking the raised stance, understand that you still need to have a knee bend, you still need to have your hands out in front, and you still need to rock some semblance of a stance, and then you can't be doing too much from there. Like if a shot comes, you should be able to execute a save properly from your raised stance. And if you can't, then there's something wrong with the technique, in my opinion. But yeah, I do think that it's situational, like with a lot of things in goaltending, but it does help to conserve a little bit of energy, which for a game that if you're getting peppered and they have a lot of ozone possession, I'm personally okay with it. Again, if it's executed properly and at the right time, and that right time is not when somebody's in the slot ready to shoot. So I think there's a caveat to it, in my opinion, but I'm for it to an extent. Just has to be done right. So
I don't know what to tell you on that. I don't see a use to it for me. I think it just creates sloppy footwork. I think it again, like you said, like if that is something you want to do and you don't execute it properly and you end up getting into too much of a wide stance that you end up making yourself leg locked, it's game over for you. I think you're doing one too many things there, and it just I don't see I don't see the benefit of it. So
yeah, there you go. That's probably what the first major thing that we've
yeah, actually, of course,
agreed
yeah,
on.
yeah.
All right, so I got two hot takes for you to finish off.
Oh boy.
So my first one is, and I don't know how to word this so it doesn't come across wrong, but we put too much emphasis on the big highlight reel save. And I'm not discrediting the big highlight reel saves because, again, we talked earlier, the skill of improvisation and desperation is a skill, and it's something that you need as a goalie. But more so, what I lean towards is we don't give enough credit to the non highlight reel saves. And that's kind of the hill that I'm going to die on as my hot take, because there is, like, I can watch a save as a goalie coach where a guy pushed across on a 2-on-1 on his feet, got a shot. He leaned his shoulder into it, controlled the rebound. And to me, I'm like, standing ovation. Let's go. That's unreal. And all the fans in the building, yeah, woo, good job. Okay,
Yeah.
golf clap, whatever, right? Because it didn't look nice, but technically it was like perfect. And to me, I think we need more love for those saves and we need less like obsession with the big highlight reel saves because a lot of times that's following a mistake.
Yeah.
But that's just my hot take. We need to give less love for the highlight reels and more for the not so nice but technically sound saves. So that's why I think we're gonna make not sexy Saturdays or not sexy Sundays an official thing
Yeah,
when we
I
start
was
doing that.
I was thinking about that as you were talking about it. It's like, oh yeah, here's non-sexy Sundays being brought up again. So,
Yeah,
um, yeah, I agree with you there. I think, but I think in the same breath, I'm kind of okay with non-regular hockey fans kind of being overly excited about those saves because as goalies or people in the goalie community and the goalie union, only we can be the ones to appreciate those types of saves. So that kind of gives us a an opportunity, you know, to like we're in this exclusive club. It's like, oh yeah, he made a like to the untrained eye, it's oh yeah, he made a simple glove save. Like he watched it go into his glove, big whoop. Whereas us, we're like, that's what we want to see. That's what we want, you know, our other goalies to do, you know, because it's so stupidly simple that anybody can do it. Like, why doesn't anybody understand that? You know, or even just with any kind of movement. So I think honest like I can appreciate the sentiment of, you know, wanting to have the same, oh my god, what a glove save, you know, whatever, and it's just this. But you know, I there's a little bit of poetry, I guess, with just only goalies being able to appreciate a simple chest cradle save or a simple blocker or a simple stick or glove save.
yeah. I don't need it to be like the announcer like going full Pierre Maguire on Dustin Tokarski.
Save by number 35.
Yeah, I don't need that, but it'd be nice for the NHL to like post a clip to their page of just a real solid save and
Yeah,
just being like, "Wow, look at this save." And it's like, we just need more love for the saves that because the goalie did everything so well, it just looked so mundane. But that's just me.
yeah,
Uh,
I get it. I am like again, like I said, like I understand the sentiment about it,
yeah.
but I yeah.
Um, Last one to wrap it up. And this is something I'm trying to do better with as I go. Um, but my other hot take is the goalie community as a whole, myself included, as a player and as a coach, although I'm trying to be better at it as a coach, we are too obsessed with perfection. So we like, we're always striving for the, okay, yes, you made the save, but, and sometimes I think we need to just be like, nice save. And there's a fine line for us coaches to walk between correction and sometimes letting these things go and just being like, hey, you know what? You threw something out there, you made a save, good on you. We'll just move on, right? Because as a player, there is a lot of things that I missed out on my career. Like I got to do a lot of cool things, but because I was still striving to get to that next level, striving to keep getting better, you kind of got lost on that a little bit, like what you're actually doing in the now and how good I actually was. Like when I played, I just lost a lot of that because I was like, no, I let in this goal. What went wrong? What can we do next time? Oh, what, bad game. Okay, well, what do I need to change now? Right? It wasn't oh, that was a good game, good job. Like we're in a good spot right now. Let's, try and figure out a way to build off of that. Like I found, at least for me, it was always like, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? And I think we kind of need to, as a goalie community, get away from that mentality and understand that there's so many variables that go into a game. It's not going to be perfect. I don't think there's any goalie out there that's never been scored on before, unless you've played maybe 2 minutes of goal and that's it. But yeah, that's another one, is I think we are too obsessed with perfection.
Yeah, yeah. Um, some that's some that I've learned over my tenure as a coach thus far, especially early on. It would be something as simple as, you know, we as at True North Goaltending, we do that drill with the three elevated pucks, right? Um, and so like if they didn't make a glove save or a blocker save that I had envisioned them doing it, then I'd stop the drill and correct it and start over. And so I'd waste so much time talking and doing all that, and where at some point there's sometimes it's just you just kind of need to, especially as a coach, you just need to like, yeah, made the save, move on to the next one, right? And it's not by any stretch that we're trying to be lazy or anything. I think it's just sometimes it's just as the old saying goes, pick and choose your battles, right? And so did the goalie make the stick save and put it into the corner the way that you had told him to, or the way that you envisioned it? No. Did the job get done? Yes. Move on to the next one. And then if it's when it starts to become a problem, then that's when you can step back and readjust afterwards. Or even if it's something that's like you're going through video, and I've done this as well, where I'm going through video and I'm looking for one particular thing because that's what I want to talk to the goalie about. But I just happen to notice this. I'll touch on it and be like, hey, stick save didn't look great, but you made the save, so it's okay, whatever. But just make sure, just try and do the way that I told you to do it, or the way that I'm instructing you to do it next time. I think just the living in the here and now, or the just understanding that you're not going to be a shutout goalie every night. Mistakes are going to happen. You're going to give up bad goals. You're going to make bad saves. Um, that's life. It happens. And so, not that we're saying like don't take your development, your training seriously, but you should. It's just a thing of like, perfection doesn't exist. It absolutely does not exist. It is this thing that we strive for, and it is a goal that we will never achieve, or anything that we will maintain. But it's a nice sentiment for us as humans to strive for. So I think that's kind of maybe a way of looking at it.
Yeah. All right. You want to take us home? Because that wraps up our list of hot takes for today.
This was a fun one. I'm quite proud of this one. Again, just a huge thank you, I guess, first off, to everybody that answered. Really do appreciate that, and just kind of nice to see the goalie community. Like I feel like some people had some stuff to get off of their chest, and nobody's given them an outlet to do that.
Connor included.
Yeah, but I don't know. We might have to do a part two on this here, because we've had some other ones that we've touched on in other episodes. So if we didn't get to your take in this episode, again, like we said at the start, don't be discouraged or anything. Just go through our catalog of episodes here, because like there's a few that talk about goaltending and practices and whatever else. There's a whole podcast episode on that, just to name one. So I think just yeah, thank you everybody for submitting your takes on that. This was a lot of fun, and it made for a very very entertaining episode. But beyond that, Thank you, everybody, so much for listening. If you are listening on your favorite podcasting platforms, Apple, iHeart, Spotify, if you're watching over on the YouTube side of things, make sure you hit that subscribe button and share the channel along with the podcast if you are listening on the podcast platforms, because the more goalies that we bring towards the goalie community, the better, as we just witnessed in today's episode. If you are following us on our social media programs, you can follow us there at True North Goaltending, because that is who this podcast is sponsored by now, as we emerged everything over from the DIY goalie to True North Goaltending. If you are following us on Instagram, because we like to be different, you can follow us there at YEG Goalie Coach. You can follow myself on Instagram as well at MondayGC. We got a lot of entertaining stuff and a lot of exciting stuff coming in the mix here, so make sure you guys head over to TrueNorthGoaltending.com for all that stuff. All of those links will be down in the show notes below. Until then, goalies, make some saves. We'll see you guys next time. Take care.